Bom dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bom dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast, welcoming you on YouTube and on X, Twitter. Now, we have an increasing number of people watching us over on Twitter, now X. Please say hello if that's you. Well, anyway, tudo bem? Como estás? How are you today? It's a bom dia, alegria. It's midweek, it's hump day, and we're looking forward to a wonderful meetup, actually. We're really getting into the swing of things. I think this is our fourth or fifth event, and we've over 20 people coming today, so we're looking like a great fourth Wednesday meetup. Normally we're in the Palmeira Cafe in the north side of the bay, near the quay, and then every fourth Wednesday like today, I hope it is, because everyone's converging on the Storytellers Palace for around midday, when Raquel will be talking about starting and running a business here in Portugal. I'll chip in with my experience on that, which is in part bitter. It's one of the least attractive aspects of life here, but we're working our way through it, and we're making it easier for other people. And then at 1, we will start our 3-course lunch, which will be delightful. Salmon ravioli, roulade, pudding conventual, sardines to start. I think it's going to be wonderful. So looking forward to seeing you there if you're coming along. And the Englishman and Irishman in Portugal production crew will be meeting. Bobby O'Reilly will be there this lunchtime. Looking forward to seeing Bobby and Andy. And Bobby on the show this morning at 9 o'clock too, in about half an hour. So Bobby will be here. And he's going to be reporting back on his rather rapid weight loss that's been going on just recently. You'll have heard him made mention. He was a bit shocked when he saw himself in one of the videos. And he decided to take action, massive action, as Tony Robbins would say. So we'll find out what he's doing to bring about the rapid weight loss for himself, and increasing his physical fitness and well-being as well. So we'll talk to him about that at 9 o'clock this morning. And at 9:30, the doc joins us. No, is it the other way around? No, that's right. It's the doc is joining us at 9:30. And the doc is in Germany. He's had to go and get some repairs done on his motorized mobility vehicle. And I think he's been on an epic road trip to Germany. So he'll be reporting in from Germany, and no doubt we'll have a view on the recently installed, now officially installed government of Portugal, and other news on that. Paulo Fanassi will be back on Friday. He is deciding to run for mayor, the foreigner running for mayor in Albufeira. The mayor of Albufeira. It does sound like My Fair Lady, doesn't it? Hola, tudo bem? The rain in Spain. That's Paulo Fanassi will be joining us with an Democratic Alliance member as well, a politician from the party who are victorious at the moment, who had the most votes anyway. So we'll be having a little bit of, because it's a fifth Friday, I believe, on Friday, a slightly unusual bit of programming, and finding out more about a bit of balance as well, like you might say. It's an understandable criticism that I have spoken only so far to a Shager rep in our on-screen dialogues with politicians, so it seems only right. We've got PSD to follow. I'd like to speak to Liberal Initiative and Bloc Esquerda, although I guess Doc has been representing them for months, even years now. Anyway, that's to come on Friday, so do stick around. And of course, Jacqui Jacqui A from Expats Portugal will be joining us to tell us what's going on with the webinar, the Expats Portugal webinar tomorrow evening at 7:30, and the 9 o'clock Dream Team session thereafter, which I really enjoy. I think the Dream Team sessions are amazing, even if I say so myself, and that's because I'm in the company of such excellent professionals every Thursday night at 9. Now, this meme's come in from James. What's this about here, James? Oh, before we go there, though, did you see the meme I opened with? This is extraordinary. It's one of those OMG memes. And technically, we have 3 minutes to live, but every time we breathe, the time starts. Now, occasionally you will see with a meme, let that sink in. I think this is really one of those let that sink in memes. So consider it for a moment. Technically, we have 3 minutes to live, but every time we breathe, the time restarts. That's how fragile our human lives are. He's out of line, but he's right, says the other gentleman in the picture there. Isn't that amazing? Thank you very much to whoever conceived of that and then crafted it for our consumption. And we've got, is this a language meme? We've got Moses pointing to English with a rather potpourri sort of creature there. Norse, Anglo-Saxon, Latin, French, and Greek. Okay, that's English is the love child of all those other languages. And look at the state of him. Right there. What the hell is this? Says Moses. Very good. Thank you for that. There we go. For you, James, friend of Slug. Right, let's see. I think you're here this morning. You normally are. And yes, you were in at 7:56 with a Bon Dia coach. What was the coach up to this morning then? Bon Dia todos. How is it Wednesday already? Well, yeah. Had a really good coaching session with a young rugby player yesterday who has improved his running enormously. That's why I coach. Well done. I'm sure he's delighted as well. I bet, wouldn't it be wonderful if you get to see him catching that ball and running for all his life, and the programming, the coaching that you've given to him kicks in and he runs and scores a try? Wouldn't that be a wonderful moment? Do you get to see him play ever, Coach Turner? God scored tip of the day then. I was reading recently about Sir Keir Starmer and how he is inspired by his mother. She has been seriously ill for many years, but even when she's in hospital, remains cheerful. Some people are like that, aren't they? Gets on with life as it is, yeah? I guess if you accept life as it is and you don't complain, that does put you at something of an advantage. Easier said than done, of course. We all have our own challenges, but need to remember that there are others that are much worse off than us. I often forget that in the moment. Well said, Coach Turner, with a morning, Sir Slug. Very British. Merely a flesh wound. Good morning to you, Coach. Thank you very much for your insight this morning. And a bon dia, Coach, to you from James. Bon dia, Gumpers. Feliz carta todos, tudo bem? From James, and a mindful moment. That sense of settled is here and now. That sense of settled is here and now. It is the pause and resting place between there and then. Very good. That's by a bloke called Jay Holly. Not heard of him. Mindful. Very good, James. Mindful dad joke. What do you call a Buddhist monk who meditates in the snow? There's no end to these. From the fertile mind of James and others like him who foment these mindful dad jokes. Frozen. Ouch. Bon dia, Gumpers, from Jacqui, the humble crafter. Bon dia, Gumpers, and Twitter X. What? Easier to remember. Yes, Twix. That's really good. I've not heard that before. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to start calling it Twix. Thank you very much. Yes, and if you are watching on Twix, as some people are, there are people watching on Facebook. There are people watching on Facebook. There are many ways to watch via Facebook, and it seems to dominate my groups on Facebook, the live stream. YouTube mainly, and a few Twixers. Good morning to you. Barack, good morning to you. Good talking to you the other day. Was it only yesterday? No, maybe the day before yesterday. Mugs are on order, my friend. Hola, bon dia from a wet and windy Travanza. And the weather's not too good either, I hear. Same here. There's a stiff breeze. It doesn't like it stiff first thing in the morning. And definitely precipitation. I mean, last night, some of that rain was extraordinary, like scary even, here on the Silver Coast. And I was trying to record an interview with Dina Rollo. I'm really, really keen to get us talking more Portuguese, okay? And that's my big push for spring, I think. And I'm talking to Vitor Costa and Maria later on today. Spoke to Dina Rollo last night. who's a very different sort of Portuguese language teacher. She teaches English to Portuguese, and she also teaches Portuguese to English people or English speakers. And she was talking about how the pandemic, how the lockdown brought a real sudden end, it sounded like, to her in-class teaching. She ran a language school in Nazaré. And it entirely transformed the way she teaches, both mentally, psychologically, as well as physically, because it's not very physical anymore. It's mainly online. And she's got quite the niche when it comes to talking to people in a conversational way. She's really not that bothered about the A2 and exams and curricula. She is much keener to get people talking and in conversation. And the results seem to be working well. So thanks for the conversation with you yesterday evening up the road in Nazaré, experiencing the same storm as me last night, pretty much. And that interview will be edited and released. Probably we'll play it on the morning slot at some point and make it available on our YouTube channel, of course. Going to see him just before we head on our trip. Who are you going to go see? Excuse me. Who's that you're going to see? Who have we been talking about? That? Is it James Holly? Is it Antonio Barbosa? Good morning to you all. A todos, bom dia, feliz quinta-feira. Speak to you soon. Quarta-feira, I beg your pardon, not quinta-feira. Morning to you. Tony Time, man in the Minho. See you soon. I'll speak to you soon, Tony. Yes, we will be in touch. Fantastic. Right. So not only raining and windy, but snowy as well. Okay. Oh, I see. The young rugby player. I'm going to see him before we head out on our trip. Very good. Going to see him play. That's wonderful. Paul Richards, we're being graced by Senor Ricardos this morning. Greetings from a wet Algarve. Looks like rain for a few days. The rain dance worked. Have you got a tutu I can borrow, Paul? I had a reminder last night from Becky over at the netball team over there in Obidos or over Obidos way. Are we still good? Are Colin and I still good tomorrow? Yeah, well, yes, we are. We're borrowing another Toyota. We're putting, I think the RAV. It's not the RAV. Is it the little CRV? I think we're putting that through its paces tomorrow. We're driving it over to netball. We need a couple of tutus. We might pick them up on the way, and we're going to take part in a little bit of netball and cake tasting. Nobody's ever done a car review like that before, as far as I'm aware. Not even Top Gear have done that. Have played netball and eaten cake and worn tutus. And I don't really want to see that. I don't want to see James May, the hamster, and the other fella dressed up like that playing netball. We did it first, unless they're going to steal that idea and do it tonight. We'll see. We'll see. Good morning to you, Paul. Great to see you here. And if you have got a tutu, could you stick it in the post? Maybe it needs couriering. I need it for tomorrow. And if it could be dry cleaned, that would be awesome as well. Just put the bill inside the parcel there. Right. I wanted to show you that it's been snowing as well here in Portugal. We have received snow. And I saw a picture in Caldas de Rainha of what looked like a snow-covered street. Of course, it was just hail. Speaking to locals, they have some memory of a flurry of snow in the last 20 years. But it's not a common occurrence here on the Silver Coast. Further up north and central Portugal, you're going to be looking at a scene like this. Isn't that wonderful there? Snow closes roads in Portugal then. The roads crossing the central Serra da Estrela Massif are closed to traffic this morning due to snowfall. That was reported yesterday. A civil protection source told the Lusa agency. So let's go over to the Portugal news and have a look at that. I need to show you a different screen for that. Oh, he's got a range of tutus. That's very thoughtful. Thank you, Paul. What colour? I'll let everyone else here decide if that's okay. Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear, a.k.a. Grand Tour, loves the fact you know them. Yeah. I mean, that's the least I can do, isn't it? Is give them a little bit of a plug. That struggling motoring program. Give them a little bit of a plug on the Good Morning Portugal show. If you speak to them, Barack, do let them know that we were talking about them. 10 days of rain predicted here, but the polytunnel is holding up. Your estufa is holding up against the moisture there. But the polytunnel is holding up well thus far. At least we have azure blue breaks in the cloud. We do, don't we? It's like, it's really schizophrenic, the weather. At the moment. Yesterday, I thought, okay, well, that's it. We're done with the rain now. And then it came back with a vengeance. And then it was bright and sunny, like as you're describing there, Pete. And then it was peeing down again. It really is quite changeable at the moment. Not unlike humanity right now. It seems to be reflecting that same sort of pre-eclipse, post-full moon weirdness that seems to be going on at the moment. Okay, let me show you that snow story. Hopefully we'll have Jacqui joining us soon as well. And Bobby, what's Bobby up to there? He sent me a spreadsheet, I think. Well, he's probably going to explain more about that a little bit later on. He'll be on with us at 9. And the doc is back. It seems like ages since we've spoken to the doc. He'll be back at 9:30. Jacqui from Expats Portugal before then. Okay, let's have a look at this snow, shall we? And maybe a few other bits of news while we're over there. Because the progress has been made in the parliament. We do have a prime minister now. And I think everybody was sworn in yesterday. And I imagine there was a bit of swearing yesterday in the Portuguese parliament. Excitable and changeable over there as well, just like the weather here. The roads crossing then the central Serra there, you can see. And if I scroll down a little bit, you can see pictures of blonde women for some reason. That'll tells you something about my search history, doesn't it? And the adverts that are being served to me. According to the or whoever else uses this computer in here, according to the that's my defense anyway. According to the sub-regional emergency and Civil Protection Command of Beiras and Serra da Estrela, sections 11. I need to get my guttural R, rolling my R, sounding a little bit more Portuguese and not so German. Serra da Estrela! Sections 11, the Piornos de Tour, and now it's French, Tour. Number 12, Tour to Tour. Number 13, Tour to Lagoa Comprida. And section 9, Piornos, Manteigas. Piornos, what's that? In the district of Guarda. They're all closed, those roads that I just badly pronounced. Access began to be closed early Monday evening. And, let me just roll this VT. I'll play this Twix video. Is that rolling on your end? Yes, it is. Look at that snow. Look at that. Fantastic. Snow in the headlamps there. That person wants to be careful. Get home, you silly fool. Serra da Estrela there. Incredible snow in Portugal right there. Thank you, Portugal News, for that. Portuguese Institute. What are these blonde? Oh, it's wigs. Oh, okay. It's probably heard me talking about tutus and is serving up wigs to me as well. Quite convincing, aren't they? Not that I would get away with any of those. The Portuguese Institute of the Sea and Atmosphere, IPMA, has issued martial arts hero. Every time I think of when I read that out, IPMA has issued a yellow warning for the districts of Bragança. So be careful. This poor weather. James won't agree. It's not poor. It's just weather. It's just rain. We need it. But I've had enough of it, quite frankly, James. As you know, the yellow warning for the districts of Bragança, Viseu, Porto, Guarda, Villarreal, Viana do Castelo, and Leiria and Castelo Branco, Aveiro, Coimbra, and Braga, due to forecast snowfall above 600 to 800 meters with accumulation above. It's going to settle over 800 meters to 1,000 meters between 9 today and... okay. So the worst is about to pass at 9 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. So there you go. Snow in Portugal. How exciting. Let's give her a nice big round of applause and bring her onto the screen. Jacqui!
Hi, good morning.
How are you, Jack? Were you excited seeing that snow, or are you glad to have it behind you? I'm guessing you had a bit of snow in Massachusetts from time to time.
Oh, gosh. What was it, 15, 16? It was biblical. I mean, there never had been on record as much snow. And there had been at that 15, 16 for that winter.
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and in Boston, they have something they call them ice farms, because you can't throw dirty snow into the ocean. So they have these huge ice farms in Boston. And
Wow.
people were betting when the last of the snow would, the ice would melt. And it was in July.
No, wait. So 2015, 2016 was the big ice and snowstorms of Boston.
Oh, it was. And what's really unusual about Boston is it's legal. Like, there's a joke. You could take your grandmother's furniture. If you dig out a parking spot and you could put your grandmother's furniture in that spot, it is legally yours. And the police honor that. And it's
It's got to be a grandmother's furniture.
Well, it could be your lawn chair, but that's the joke.
Right. So I thought specifically you had to be grandma's favorite chair, not with her in it, I hope, in those temperatures.
No, and it's crazy to see all these people. They dig out spots, and you'll be going through Boston and you'll see pieces of furniture like a chair or something to designate that that's your spot that you've dug out and nobody could park there.
Wow, that's interesting. What also is interesting to me is you mentioned ice farms because you can't put snow in the ocean. How how are people getting their snow to the ocean, or was this just on the coastline where they were doing that?
Well, there's a lot of coastline along Boston.
Right.
And
Okay.
so what happens is they take the snow, they shovel you the snow in a truck, and they put it in a big truck, and then they
Really?
take it out of the neighborhood. But where's all the snow going to go? It can't go in the ocean because it has so much debris in it.
Yeah. Right.
And so they put it in the ice farm. And it's just it was really when we had a home and we had ice dam damage, which meant that the snow got to our roof line. It was so high that it
What?
got to the roof line and that it melted. It was tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage to our home, that
Yikes.
it got into like the in between the walls so that you could smell the insulation. It was horrible. But we had wallpaper, it melted the wallpaper, all our
What?
pictures, yeah. The pictures,
Right.
even our floors, our wood floors started to buckle. It
My
was
goodness.
terrible.
Give me black mold anytime. Give me black mold compared to that any
It
old
was
time.
it
Wow.
was bad. It was
It
really bad.
sounds
But but listen, we were walking our dogs, and I'm like, this is hail yesterday.
yes. Yes.
Yesterday afternoon, we were like, we got hit by hail in Cascais.
Oh, right. It's there's a lot of it
So
about at the moment. Yeah, and were you able to get home quickly? That's my least favorite dog walking moment when I'm out and I'm thinking, okay, it's looking like it might rain. Let's see if we can get halfway, 3/4 home, and then sometimes the heavens do open and I'm completely soaked, which I don't enjoy. And it gets to the point where the dogs don't even enjoy that.
they start to run home.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I'm like a husky dog dragging the owner home. But yeah, hopefully we've got enough now. I think for the reservoirs. Actually, that's not true down south, is it? But we've got enough up in our part of the country, I think. So it can stop now, and we'll have nice weather, please, until the winter. If that's okay, if IPMA could organise that. Well, how are you apart from that then? Apart from being those bad memories of the Boston of 2015 and
There's
2016.
a reason I live here.
Right. Yes. Okay. Another nice affirmation for life in Portugal there. Oh, Randy's in as well. Bon dia Malta, he says, making the most of a break in the weather. Him too. And going for a wander around Aveiro and lunch. Very good.
Oh.
Have a good one up there by Randy. Yeah. What's going on with you then? Outside of the weather, how are things with you in Cascais?
Cascais, I mean, Cascais is always an amazing place to live, even when the weather's not great. But I did want to talk about a little bit about what's going on this Thursday night, because I think it's particularly interesting what they're doing Thursday
This
night.
is utilities, isn't it? With the wonderful Casa Portuguesa.
Yeah, but Casa Portuguesa, I don't know how much your fans know about Casa Portuguesa.
Fans!
But
Yes! Your fans too. You're on, Jacqui.
all that, but well, Casa Portuguesa it's part of it's a sister organization of EI, which is a law firm that does immigration. That's their primary focus. They do other things, but one of their primary focus is immigration. And so they help Americans, British getting their D7s, their D8s if you're a remote worker, all your different visas. But Gilda started this company, as you know, called Casa Portuguesa. And what's really amazing about Casa Portuguesa is that when you're coming for your visa, you have to come into the country, you leave the country. It's a whole rigmarole about how the embassy processes your visa, how you have to send your passport to the embassy, the Portuguese embassy in the US. So you're kind of going back and forth. What they do is make sure you don't go back and forth a million times, because one of the conditions of your visa is to have a 12-month lease. So what they have are people all over the country. So for instance, if you say, I am a complete city girl, I want to live on like the fanciest city in Lisbon, like Avenida Liberdade. But I want to be.
That is what I said. That is exactly what I said. But I'm ended up here. I'm not complaining, but that is what I said.
But I need to have 4 Indian restaurants that I could walk to.
Yes.
And I need the right mercado de carne because I'm very fussy
Parking.
about my meat. And whatever things that you have.
Yes.
And they will find that apartment with those 4 Indian restaurants that you could walk to the right mercado de carne. And then they videotape the whole, I'm getting to utilities. They videotape the whole apartment. They videotape the whole apartment. But what's also great is that they go over the contracts because they're associated with a law firm. So they'll say, okay, this is the contract we're getting. As part of what you get using them, you have a law firm check your contract to make sure it's on the up and up, that the building's up to code, all those kind of legal requirements.
Well, a lot of them are lawyers, aren't they, in the team there?
How great is that to have legal professionals with you? But what they also do, and I've told this story a million times, but one of the people I worked with, one of my consultations, told me he had used them. Now, I mean no disrespect to Portugal, but we all know that the bureaucracy is intense here.
What? No, come on.
That is a truism, if ever there was one.
Yes.
And like I tell people, they're coming from the US, I'll say, if you spent an hour waiting because you moved to change, your utilities, whether it's your cable, your water, or your electricity, whatever it is,
You'll never
and
get
you're
it back.
on the phone. Well, if you're on the phone for an hour, you're like, they took my life away, these companies.
Yeah.
That's how you are in the US.
Worse for the New Yorkers, right? New Yorkers, can you imagine? Come on, man!
I can't believe it. But but you come to this country, you pack lunch, you pack a book, you prepare yourself to make friends because you're going to be online 6 hours.
Take a ticket, take a chill pill.
That's how it is.
Yes.
But for a very nominal cost, this young man, they said, getting my utilities, I could pay a nominal cost relatively, and they would do it. He says, I walked in, my cable was on, my lights are on, my gas, my electricity goes. It was like walking into a hotel.
And they pick them up from you can be picked up from the airport by Casa Portuguesa, can't you?
I think you can, yeah.
But, and you know what? They told her, well, we're talking, aren't we, to them tomorrow night at 7:30. And they said, when Gilda first had the idea, they said, it will never work. What are you talking about? This is a crazy idea. And she's been proved, the visionary that is Gilda Pereira has been vindicated one more time.
I mean, I think it is a great idea because I don't know of any other company that's doing it in that way, that's tied to a law firm, that has representation all over Portugal, that does a deep dive into understanding what you're looking for, and then does your utilities.
Takes care of it, picks you up from the airport, drops you off, and it's all connected and ready to go. Amazing service.
To me, it is an incredible service. And one of the things you learn about utilities here is, because I did a YouTube on utilities, was that it's so surprising that, let's say, equal weather, such as California, we know gasoline, petroleum is higher in cost here. But what's always so surprising is that I get some more of a mix of energy.
Yes.
So your utility bills are significantly lower than in an equal state like California. So I always find that I think that's fascinating that gas is so much higher, but your utilities overall will be significantly lower in Portugal.
Excellent. Well, we'll talk more about that tomorrow night at 7:30. Thank you for being here, Jacqui. Now, on the note of Casa Portuguesa, I was out for dinner on, just a dessert course. It's a long story, but I was having a lovely dessert. And there was, as well as coffee, tea, fine food, fine wine, there was a fado singer. And I know Bobby O'Reilly's joining us in just a moment. He has a massive love for the fado. And it ties together beautifully because this young lady is singing Casa Portuguesa, which is from...
Oh, that's very famous, yeah.
Yeah, and so we'll sing you out with the Casa Portuguesa anthem of Portugal. And I'll see you tomorrow evening, okay?
You will.
All right, a round of applause for you. See you then. And we'll roll VT. And we'll listen to a little bit of Casa Portuguesa.
Uma promessa de beijos, dois braços amigos é uma casa portuguesa, com certeza. É com certeza uma casa portuguesa. certeza, e é com certeza uma casa portuguesa.
How about that, Bobby? I got your rider. I must be serenaded in with fado music. Especially
You know me and Fado now.
I so do. Now, you'd have been tapping your foot along to that, wouldn't you, in that environment?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I like a bit of Fado. A little bit of Fado every now and again. Couldn't do it every night.
I couldn't do it every day. How are you? You are looking different. And you're going to tell us a little bit about the regime you're on, I think, this morning.
Yeah, it's not that strict, to be straight, but it's
Right.
I went down to my favorite restaurant in Portugal, which is in Spain, the LPA, and the head chef there, he's a genius, but he turned around and he was after losing a lot of weight, and I had put on a lot of weight since we've seen each other last, and basically he gave me his regime, which I sent you, which is in Spanish. So
okay. Oh, right. That's that amazing restaurant, LDA, isn't it? Not
LPA. Yeah.
LPA. So I'm confusing that with the Portuguese business. So they're over just across the border, are they not? In
Ayamonte.
Ayamonte. Okay.
LPA Culinary Bar. It's absolutely fantastic. It really is.
Okay. All right.
It's not a place I can go to at the moment, but
right. Okay.
But it's a place that normally we used to go for lunch and stay for dinner.
Right. Well, I don't understand any of this spreadsheet. I thought you'd sent me the accounts for a minute, but it's like so this is a spreadsheet for weight loss. Can you tell us
So very simply, it's very simple. So basically, this guy's a great chef, and he designed his own. He designed this for himself. He's actually Italian, but he designed this himself. So he worked out that he only wanted to eat 1,000 calories a day. Yeah. So basically, he counted every calorie that he normally would eat and understand what he could have for breakfast, lunch, dinner, etc. And then if you want to change it up, all you have to do is Google calorie count for such and such, and it'll tell you what weight of that you can eat. So it starts off with a scales, not for you, but for your food. So the first thing on that thing there is actually oatmeal, and it's 40 grams of dry oatmeal, and then you can put as much water to see whatever consistency you want in it and so on. You can have fat-free yogurt with blueberries or strawberries or banana, whatever as well. So that's your breakfast, and that's a decent breakfast. Like, you know, you're not.
It sounds a lot like I was doing last year. I don't mind that at all. Granola, low-fat yogurt, and some fruit. That's not a bad start to the day. And I still occasionally do that. So yeah, that's a great start. How's lunch looking?
Lunch is great. To be honest with you, like the whole sort of secret behind the whole lot is take the fat out. So if you have eat lots of salads, of course, because you can eat as much salad as you want and as much fruit as you want, and even to a point as much vegetables as you want. Yeah. So you're not hungry, but it's keeping the fat out of it. So basically, you have chicken and fish instead of steak or whatever it might be. But say I go home every lunch, so I can make sure now I measure everything that I'm eating. So in 5 weeks, I've lost 7 kilos.
Well done, mate. That's great, isn't it? I bet you're pleased with that.
Yeah, no, I'm doing a bit of walking as well. Do a bit of walking, and I do 2 kilometers in the morning, and then whatever. I end up around 10 kilometers a day. Yeah, doing walking, but that just speeds up the process. Like by eating less calories, you burn over 2,000 calories a day by just general moving. So you're losing weight and you're not hungry. That's the whole thing.
And it's just physics, really, isn't it? Or biochemistry, and maths. It is definitely. There's no question about it. And that is the way to lose weight and get fitter, is to actually do more and eat less, or certainly, you know, in terms of eating less, is just cut down the calorific intake. So good effort.
You don't have to eat less bulk, if you know what I mean. So in other words, like what I've returned to is wraps. So I create a huge wrap with salad and a bit of chicken. And I make my own mayonnaise with 0 yogurt and a bit of mustard, mix it up, a bit of lemon. So you have a bit of taste in it as well. You can use as many spices, whatever as you want as well. So you don't lose taste, you don't lose volume, you just lose the fat. Simple. And
it doesn't have to be boring, does it? It really doesn't have to be boring. You have to, I guess you have to sort of challenge your existing habits, don't you? That's a lot of it.
It's everything is habit, to be honest with you. So you have to change your habits. You have to change your routine. So my routine now is up every morning, 6:30. Get ready, go for a walk with the dogs back. And then after that, then it's have the breakfast, get showered, get dressed, go to work. That's it.
And That's amazing, and we'll find out what you have for dinner as well in a minute. But I mean, are you? It brings a sense of well-being, doesn't it? Having that focus and being mindful, and having a sense of purpose with this as well. I found. Do you find that as well? You feeling a bit more inspired as a result.
Healthy. To be honest with you, like I was after getting to a place where I was uncomfortable with everything, even trying to sleep, wasn't sleeping properly. So on. But I also stopped drinking alcohol. So that's a big one, because alcohol is just calorie counting. The whole, basically, you have a pint, that's it, that's dinner gone, you know. So you have to decide between liquid diet and solid diet. So so I cut out the alcohol completely, and I
have you?
Yeah, completely. And I was at a party the other night, and the guy was open Paramanca, and I had to leave.
That's a strategy.
All right.
I don't know what is Paramanca? What is that?
It's one of the most famous, expensive wines in Portugal.
Really? Wow, that must have been quite the challenge.
€600 a bottle.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
And I don't suppose you could say, could you just pour me a little bit in a bottle? I'll take it with me and have it.
I've been hearing about it since I came here. I tried to Paramanca, and then I have people say it's overrated, etc. It's just it's the brand that people are going for. It's a bit like, say, a fancy champagne brand.
Okay.
But I didn't get to try it, so that's
wow.
Okay. And I was at a party in Ireland where I was a friend in Ireland's 50th surprise party, and we flew from Faro to Shannon, which is great, by the way. And of course, everyone was drinking like crazy, and Guinness and the whole lot. And here's me with my water, and it's not known now as the guy's surprise 50th. It's known as the one where I just drank water at the party.
Yeah, that's right. Never mind about the guy's birthday. Bobby's not drinking.
Yeah, that was it. So that's a sign to stop.
Yes. Yeah. Well, when you're known for that. Yeah. That's wow. That's incredible. Well done. Congratulations, Bobby, says Pete there. JP in Porto, oatmeal with blueberries, raisins, honey, and walnuts each morning for decades now. That sounds like a great breakfast. It works. Also, keep up the activity, walking, push-ups. Your choice, says JP of Porto. Matty as well, Quinta Andraguas. Well done, Bobby. Keep it up. And the very rude and direct Peter, as you might expect, there does seem to be significantly less of you than when you first appeared.
Yeah.
Sarah,
a lot more to go.
Bon dia, says Sarah and Virginia, talking about. Oh, I'm going to ask you about utilities as well. I'll ask you about your favorites. Bon dia, Casa Portuguesa helped us immensely. Our requested fumigation service we always do before moving into any apartment. Wow. And a cleaning in addition to setting up utilities before we arrived. I want to hear more about fumigation. I've never thought to do that when leaving or arriving at an apartment. I love oatmeal and blueberries for breakfast. There's another already doing that. Morning to you, T-Duck. Good to have you here. And Mate from James there. Wow. And so dinner then, is that your big wrap when Daddy's doing a big wrap?
It's similar to lunch, to be honest with you. But like, you can have potatoes. The thing is, you're not really cutting out anything except the fat. So for example, I can have potatoes, I can have rice, I can have pasta. You just have to have an average. Again, it's the calorie count depending on what you have. But typically you're talking about 80 grams of cooked rice or pasta or potato. Sweet potato is very good, actually. You can eat more sweet potato.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So last night I had broccoli, carrots, sweet potato, and chicken. And for lunch I had smoked salmon wrap. So
right.
It's filling, and drink lots of water. And you're drinking water at the same time. You're never hungry, to be honest.
And you're not feeling deprived, because that's not a nice feeling, is it? Right. Okay.
Not at all. I thought I would, and like even when the guy handed me when Fabio handed me the actual how do you say, the menu, I'm looking at it going, come on, seriously? Because
your favorite chef gives you that.
Yeah. And last night even I was watching, because normally I go to bed very early now because I get up early. And but last night I ended up sort of watching a show on HBO, and I watched 3 episodes of it. Now typically when I'm sitting down watching something at night, I would have had a drink and a bag of crisps, toasted cheese sandwich, whatever.
Pizza.
Everything. Just, munching away watching the TV,
Yes.
But no, doesn't even dawn on me now, to be honest.
Right.
So it's great. I hope, long may it continue. I hope I'm not sort of going, oh, look at me. And then a couple of months later, it's like,
It does happen, doesn't it? I mean, you know, I lost a lot of weight last year, and I was really pleased with it. And I went back up, I think, to winter insulation levels. But it kind of shows you can do it. That's a psychological win, isn't it? To know you can do it and know how to do it. I think it's really helpful.
I lost 30 kilos before. I went from
that's amazing
around 100 kilos to about 70 kilos.
Right.
I was in, say, about 42 years of age. So 10 years ago, I lost it, and I got very fit. I was in the gym 4 days and I was swimming twice. I got really sort of crazy into the whole thing. And then I got to the fitness I was ever in my life. I was able to make my pecs dance, for God's sake. I'd never been able to do that. So
yes.
I got to a stage where like it was great. And then all of a sudden I just sort of fell out of the routine. And it's so easy to fall out of the routine. And it just sort of kept going downhill from there, you know, because, whatever. And then it just, because you get focused and busy on something else and you just sort of forget it. And then, of course,
and lifestyle. I mean, you know, you're coming over for lunch today. I've organised the chicken for you, chicken salad. They're going to do that for you. But, you know, living the life you live as well. It's a lot about entertaining, isn't it? And going to nice places. So that's quite the challenge as well, which you seem to be coping with.
I was in Turkey last week or 2 weeks ago, and the food was great. But again, I was living on chicken salads and stuff like this, which is great. Shawarma, you know, it's the thing over there. Is like it's the wrap thing. So it suited me fine. I'm in Dubai next month on the 19th. Yeah, and I'm there for like 8 days between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and the hotel that we're staying in is like the breakfast is 6 kitchens, you know, kind of, and you can have whatever you want. So I've gone without breakfast. Maybe
what about egg white? If you got an egg chef there, like you have in a fancy hotel, you get an egg white omelette.
Don't like him. Don't like the egg white, you know. Okay. So I prefer just deal with my own stuff, but you know, you can get around it.
Okay, the doc's getting ready. We'll see him at 9:30. The downside might be your Kerrygold sponsorship. What have they been in touch with you? Because they're not going to be happy about this, are they?
No, they've actually disowned me completely now.
Really?
Actually, the girl I know her dad better, but she's actually the Kerrygold, not just Kerrygold, but I think it's Borbia. Borbia is a food company for Ireland. She's over the food for all of the Middle East, etc. So Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth. And that's her job. She sells Irish products out there. And Kerrygold is one of the biggest ones, but also Irish beef and so on as well.
Wow. Goodness gracious. I mean, her lifestyle must be quite a challenge as well. I wonder if she has oatmeal for breakfast. Slathered with Kerrygold butter, of course. Limbering up is the doc. And replacing butter, says Darren, with olive oil is not helpful for weight loss as it contains more calories. It will result in weight gain. That's all. It's about the amount, isn't it? I'm thinking olive oil might be a little bit better for you health-wise than butter, but I guess horses for courses, used in the right place. That's the whole thing, isn't it, with food? 1 tablespoon of butter contains, Darren seems to know a thing or two about this. 1 tablespoon of butter contains 102 calories, while a tablespoon of, who eats a tablespoon of these things? Well, we do sometimes. While a tablespoon of olive oil contains 119 calories. Thanks, Darren, for that. It's Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday. It's also Say Anything About Portugal Wednesday. We've extended it to as well. We're talking about utilities with Jacqui. Who's your favourite electricity supplier, Bobby, in Portugal?
I've changed to a company called Gold Energy.
Is that working?
Yeah, it's pretty good, actually. I have a couple of places, and I was measuring them between the differences, and yeah, it seems to be a big difference. The thing, once you deviate from EDP, etc., make sure you pay your bill on time, or they'll turn off your lights the day later. You know, so that's the only thing.
With EDP or any of them?
No. Anyone outside, say EDP, for example, where it would be your normal, general, whatever it is, but private companies, basically, they have no tolerance for a late payment or whatever. So they're be quite quick to sort of turn off your lights before you what, and then like, you know, you just pay.
Yeah, I use Outback. Sorry,
I had
go
an
on.
apartment in Algarve, and of course we changed over one of them, and I couldn't remember which company it was, and of course my parents were down in the Algarve that time using the apartment, and they actually came by my parents there and turned off the power. Yeah, so yeah. So basically, you just have to be, when it comes to the different utility companies, I just think you have to, you have to be on top of it. And I'm not one of those people that, so I have an assistant, so he normally takes care of everything for me with regards to those things. So how would you say? I wouldn't even know what my bill is, to be straight with you, normally. But I have seen a big difference between the electric bill and Gold Energy.
That's good to know. Okay, Aldax similarly. I took that recommendation from Vitor Costa. Aldax seems to be cheaper than EDP. I mean, who isn't, basically? And they're always knocking on the doors. Mrs. M said, "Oh, there was a guy knocking on the door. He said, if you pay more than 40 euros for electricity a month, I can save you money." What a fantastic sales entry point. Who doesn't pay more than 40 euros a month for electricity? But I rejected his advances or the idea of him doing that. So we've got Gold, Aldax, and EDP. If anybody wants to suggest any other alternatives, because there will be more than that. That's what happens with deregulation, isn't it, of utilities? What makes Gold Energy better? You're talking about price mainly, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it. Well, they don't supply the electricity. Either does EDP. The electricity is supplied by EREDS, EREDS. I think it's EREDS. And so EDP is how we would sort of take as the sort of normal supplier, the general supplier, but actually they're not. EREDS is the supplier.
Yes.
To be honest with you, I haven't broken down the bills at all. Yeah. But when we changed over, how do you say it? Because Pedro had basically done it, had done the math on it, and said, let's try this, and we went to this, and he said, look, yeah, it looks a lot better. So.
Does anyone break down their bills in Portugal? I mean, when you look at them, you've got to be a PhD in maths and, I don't know, in design as well to even make your way through the bills. They're so complicated. I don't know if they do it on purpose. Yeah, if anyone can do that for us, we'd be glad of that. Doc sounds like the sort of person who might have done that sort of analysis. Cost and English speakers, he says, when it comes to using Gold. That's his recommendation. EREDS, thanks there, says JP. EREDS, we have had some fun with them. That's another opportunity, possibility. I've just finished getting my full refund. Oh dear, I just finished getting my full refund back from Gold Energy after they charged me for different CPE. What's that? At a different address for 3 months, and that does happen. I know of a number of people who've paid for electricity they didn't use, or the new person in the apartment or whatever didn't go and reassign it, and they take a dim view of that because they don't know it's not you that's still using that electricity. I guess I had to form an official regulated complaint to get a decent response. So, typically, there isn't the greatest utility company in any of these brackets, is there, Bobby? I mean, let's go to internet and phones. Who's your favourite?
Oh, there's none. There's just, to be honest with you, it's terrible. Like the service level, especially because they have so many customers, they don't have the level of service to deal with. Like, as you know, I had a battle with Mayo, and they were charging me for 2 different accounts in one house, even though we didn't have the second one. Some guy had come along and created another account and used my gate. In other words, you have in Portugal, as you know yourself, like my house was number 1, my gate was 1A, whatever, you know. And he used the gate as an address because they're, no, you can't have 2 accounts at the same house. So he used the gate. And so basically he made himself a new account, etc. Went in, explained everything to them a million times, wrote many emails, letters, the whole lot. And I was just wasting time. I kept getting these people saying, because I cut off everything, all the different accounts, I cut them off and so on and so forth. I didn't care whether it was because I still had accounts running, etc. I cut everything. I just said, listen, not doing it anymore. So I'm begging them to bring me to court because I want to basically stand in front of somebody and submit my
really?
And it's only it's nothing money wise. It's nothing. It's very, very small, but it's the principle and it's the arrogance and the ignorance that I've met on the phone with regards, well, we have it here, you have to pay it. And I'm like, nope, bring me to court, please. I'd love to go to court. So Mayo for me was one of the worst ones. I haven't had any issues with Vodafone whatsoever. For me, Vodafone, with regards to dealing with them, you have to go in and say, I have it in such a way that I have to deal with them personally. So I go into their business department and deal with them one-on-one.
Well, that's a blessing.
And service in Vodafone actually quite good. Okay. So that's it.
So Vodafone gets a vote for you there, and you actually want to face. You're waiting for Mayo. You're waiting for your day in court, is it? Well, that should only take about 5 years, I think.
I don't mind, to be honest. And not doing anything with them. So at this stage, I just think that people will falter under pressure from these guys who are ringing up, and they're wrong, and they're very wrong, and they know they're wrong as well. And I've gone in and I've written in their complaints book, etc. And I've got a reply back to say we've looked at your complaint, but we don't agree with you, which I've got from every time I written in a complaints book. So not that I do it all the time, but I've probably done it 5 times in my lifespan in Portugal. And the reply is also, we don't agree with your complaint. So,
well, the doc approves. He was talking about taking on his a lift company in the last time he was here. So he loves sticking it to the man and fighting for consumer rights. Before you go, Bobby, and we'll see you later on today. Looking forward to that. The production crew of An Englishman and Irishman in Portugal are meeting this lunchtime, which will be great fun. And we'll talk more about future episodes. What do you make then of the new politics, the new parliament, the new prime minister? Any impact for you? And how is confidence in Portugal in terms of investors coming in? Has it changed anything?
It has. Let's say there's optimism with regards to what's coming rather than what was happening.
Yeah.
Stability is the main thing. I don't know how stable it's going to be, etc. and so on. So like there's a lot still remains to be seen. But there is investors definitely looking at Portugal, mainly because of the opportunity with the housing side of it, because there's such a lack of housing. So from an investor point of view, there's still opportunity from an investment point of view, but I think that this government should be able to latch on to the appetite and the demand and be able to put in hopefully some kind of tax incentives or credits or some kinds of incentives, and probably reduce the VAT or whatever it might be to make housing affordable in the areas that's required, and basically incentivize, similar to the golden visa, for people to invest into public housing and add into incentivize the developers and speed up the planning processes, which they've sort of said they've done, but to be honest with you, when you read between the lines, they're a little bit unclear, let's say. So there's a couple of issues still to line out, but I'm optimistic.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, because the talk of another election seems to have quietened down. They've been sworn in, and they seem to have some sort of workable formula that they've come to. So yeah, the talk of another election seems to have diffused and disappeared. And we'll see. Are any of the parties talking in the way that you've just talked there with those sorts of strategies, or is it too early? Do they need to get their feet?
There was. I had read a couple of reports that it was already been talked about. I think it could have been part of manifestos, etc. That they were looking at to reopen the golden visa, but they were very open to, as in for reasons of trying to help in areas that they needed help, which for me was always what made sense. But not to do it in a way that focuses investors to have to do this to get that. That doesn't work. It has to make sense at the end of the day for the investor, or it doesn't make sense at all to anybody, but it also has to make sense for the government program as well. So hopefully they get the balance right and not make a mess of it like the last crowd, because they made a mess of it by trying to turn it into a 280, a 350. You can't do that here, you have to do it there. And then basically guys who came into the market cheaply started creating product for that rather than creating. So a house that was 100,000, 140,000 in Evora or whatever it was outside outside Lisbon, all of a sudden became 280,000 because
that was ridiculous, wasn't it? But you knew that was going to happen, right? Anyone who thought about it could see that was going to happen.
I stopped doing it straight away. The minute it changed from you can invest into whatever you want to invest in. And that's why I'm doing my D2. My D2 basically allows people not even to do a property. They can do a company to do absolutely anything they want. And they can operate that company as they want and still get a residency, and so can their family and so on. So it's, for me, it's a lot clearer. The one thing I'm worried about is that once the programs start to wrench up again, I'm worried about the embassies and let's say the hours that they work and the amount of volume of people that might look to do it, and the bottleneck that will become the bureaucracy again to slow it down, because the golden visa was a fantastic idea. The problem was they didn't implement the processes properly. They weren't ready for it. And then it became a political thing. And then you had an investigation, which found out nothing happened, but it stalled for 2 years. Right now, people in the Golden Visa program are waiting. I have people 3 years waiting for the application to be processed, which is a joke. And you can't do it.
Yeah, I remember we had a conversation about this, and when I wrote my article about Shager, excuse me, I was saying that's not the biggest problem for foreigners. The biggest problem for foreigners is their administration, not the political temperature around them. And I don't think any politician is going to be shaking that tree, are they? What political capital is there in a politician saying we've got to get this sorted out? None of them are going to be saying that, are they?
Well, this is where it takes bravery, and it takes somebody that, and is there? I don't know. It takes someone who's going to be brave to and there will be falling under sword, because it won't be popular within circles, etc. as well. But it's for the good of the country, and it's the good of what is required. Like if they keep just humming along to the same tune, nothing's going to change. So.
Well, actually, it's going to get worse. If there's no intervention into the processes, with the volume of people, all of those processes are just going to get more choked up, aren't they? And more delayed, because Portugal is still popular and more people want to come. But if they don't improve the services at the consulates, the embassies, and at IMA, that's going to be the biggest problem for foreigners, actually getting here and then having their processes dealt with in an efficient manner. So
that's where the worry is. They can create this fantastic problem, but we already have a history of incompetence as a process within the system. So they need whatever programs to put together, and hopefully for the right reasons and in the right way, structure-wise, but also have the backup. Because it's not as if they don't have enough civil servants, to be honest with you. It's just making them actually do what they need to do, to train them up, and to... It's ridiculous when you have a family that goes to IMA or SEF, and there's nobody else there, and they'll take one person. The whole family's after traveling from whatever country, and no, you'll have to come back another time to do your kids or whatever it is. That to me is ridiculous, you know? Just somebody there, and first of all, speaks perfect good English, but doesn't want to speak to you in English as well, which is fine. They can get a Portuguese translator. I just think there's an unhelpful part that needs to gain a little bit more, what's the word? User friendly when it comes to dealing with foreigners. Not everybody.
It doesn't serve any that sort of inefficiency and inconvenience doesn't serve anybody, does it? And if the beef of, I guess, of the offices is like, you know, we need people to know that this is an important process, and we're gonna flex our muscles. That could be done in a different way, couldn't it? If there's more that's required to make it more of a significant process, then maybe have some language and culture modules to show what a great country and culture this is to come to, rather than flexing administrative muscles like that and inconveniencing people. I don't think that helps.
No, 100%. But the first thing that you learn in when you join a company and you're the one answering the phone, you're the first person that is going to interact with a customer or a client or whatever it might be. They're taught how to deal with that customer, that client, because first impressions last.
Yeah, right.
So when you've got people like me and others that are going around the world selling Portugal for all the amazing things that it has, we all know what they are. We don't have to go over them. But then when you hit a sort of a wall on the other side, after, you know, it's a bit like you're selling them a pig in a poke.
Yeah, right. Yep, that's right. Yeah, that first impression will last, and it's not a good one to be beginning with. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'll see you at lunchtime. Just a final thought then. We're asking what politicians might do. Maybe they can muzzle the archaeologists. My house was held up for a solid year by an archaeologist. That sounds like a really strong archaeologist.
5 years.
Really? In the end, they found some dishes that had been broken in 1925. Well, it was all worth it in the end, and an old oven. 5 years. I was going to ask you on that note, how's things going at Herdad de Mayo? No archaeological holdings there, I hope. It's
absolutely
what?
Fine. Good. 70 villas out of the ground by, I'd say, the next 3 months. All of them, all the construction with regards to the concrete and steel is well underway. It'll be finished, I'd say, 3-4 months. And then basically start. It's really starting to look good. It's, how do you say, like mushrooms popping up now in the field, you know, that kind of way.
Oh, good for
Great.
you.
Really great to see it happen.
Please send some pictures. We'd love to see that.
Yeah, we'll do.
And you've been tracked down by JP in a good way, I hope. Bobby, I just sent you a LinkedIn connection request. That's JP in Porto. Watch out for that. And Frank Nibley agrees. Target rich environment for developing customer focused processes and to remove waste. There is something to go at, certainly in the admin of moving to Portugal. There, well spotted, Frank. Bobby, see you later. Thanks for being here. Much appreciated. And keep up that great work. Great job. 7 kilos, did you say? In
those 5 weeks.
How amazing. Well done. See you later. Ciao, ciao. I'll tip us up. There he goes. And we'll keep the applause going for the doc. Well, hey, there he is. Stop it. I don't want a fisting first thing in the morning. Right.
That was my solidarity with Bobby and his fights with Mio.
Yeah, right. I think that's what that comment was about there.
It was.
You were telling us last time. I was going to say Auf Wiedersehen. That's not the right one. Guten Tag. Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Yeah, wie geht's?
Wie geht's Ihnen? How's it going there? You are in Germany, are you?
I am, yeah. I'm between Bonn and Cologne in a little town called Troisdorf where my sister lives.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us on your epic road trip to Germany. Something to do with the mobility vehicle, is it?
Yeah. So my the nearest engineer for my Segway wheelchair, the nearest engineer to Portugal is, of course, in the middle of Holland, just over the border from my sister. So
right.
Myself and a friend of mine from Leiria drove to Holland, dropped the Ogo. My friend went off to Antwerp and then to Amsterdam to do some botanical experimentation. And I went to my sister, and then we'll meet up again on Friday, hopefully, with a functioning Ogo to drive back.
Right. Yeah. You're not going to drive back in the Ogo. It's going to go in the back of the vehicle, is it? And you're going to bring it back.
No, I want to be back before Christmas. So, yeah, it's going on the back of.
Wow. So an Ogo, a Portuguese Ogo service centre for Christmas as well, please. For
that would be good.
Wouldn't it be amazing? So lots of threads we can pick up on here. It's Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday, but also Say Anything About Portugal Wednesday. First thing being said about Portugal here by JP is, I love Portugal. We do. We absolutely do. As you can see on our screen,
totally.
They're on right-hand corner. And of course, there are 1 or 2 challenges that we do our best to help you with. And we've been talking about food as well this morning. I think Pete's, he's not going to see you. He's off to the hairdressers. So he'll catch up with you later.
What's a hairdresser? As you can see, I don't possess one.
You and me both, mate. Neither of us have much of a need, do we? And Pete gives me some stick on that for sure. We've been talking about weight loss. Bobby's done well there, hasn't he? 5 weeks, 7 kilos lost. Did you hear any of that conversation?
Yeah, that's very good. I remember being able to do similar things, mostly down to cutting the carbs down to very low and increasing my protein consumption. My problem is I love my cheese and I love my my bread and pizza and beer and wine.
Yes. Like with all these scientists that work in laboratories, come on, guys, just figure it out how we can enjoy all of that flavor without all of those calories. I'm sure they are doing it, and it doesn't really work. Again, I guess it goes against the laws of nature. And a little bit of a guide on that note there is, this has been sent in by T-Duck. If your food can go bad, it's good for you. If your food can't go bad, it's not good for you. That's not a bad guide either, is it?
That's pretty true. And beer and wine tend to last, so that's okay.
Yes, they've passed the test, and cheese is built to last. However, it can't last forever, and nor can the booze or the wine. Yeah, I guess they prove that they're kind of good for you, but they're not that good for you with that particular spectrum there. And what else has been said here? I mean, certainly Darren is saying the only way. Would you agree with this? Calories, the only way to lower body weight. That's the counting of them and limiting.
Well, no, I don't agree, because you also have glycemic index, so that's how quickly those calories are absorbed into the bloodstream as sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about calories. You know, you could eat a whole heap of cardboard that actually has quite a high calorific value, but you won't put on any weight. So
people do.
It's not just about calories.
Sure.
It is about about the speed at which calories get assimilated. It's about your consumption of calories. How if you're training for a marathon, you might well consume 3,000 calories and still be in calorie deficit, so you will lose weight.
I'm guessing that's what he's saying, isn't it? It's all about the deficit, isn't it?
But also, you need to maintain your metabolic rate. So if your metabolic rate drops, then you will get away with eating less calories because you will consume less than if your metabolic rate is high. So that also is determined by your eating pattern and what you are eating.
Yeah, it's always a bit more complicated, isn't it? But we take your general point there, Darren, and always the devil is in the detail, and there is always a bit of nuance, isn't there, to get your head round. But we take the general point there. And on oil, this was interesting, the conversation, I think, between Pete and T-Duck here that you might have a view on. Lovely to hear that Pete is flogging single cold-pressed olive oil. So, just a single estate olive oil there, cold-pressed. Contact us. We have a few hundred litres to sell. We could brand that up as Gumper grease. There. And you like a bit of olive oil. I do too. T-Duck saying, however, oil is the most processed food you can buy, even olive oil. They remove all the fibre, vitamins, minerals and nutrition, leaving just the fat. He's got a point there. So you should use it sparingly, do you think?
Well, I mean, he's right, but then butter is also processed. And to the extent that you are separating the oil from the milk in the first place. And oils are important, essential oils, a variety of oils are important. And use it sparingly. Don't go drinking gallons of it, but by all means, dip your bread in it and use it to dress your pasta and your salad.
He's actually a statement of fact rather than a euphemism there. You are not happy about the muzzling of archaeologists. Why not?
Well, I've done a fair amount of archaeology in my time. When I was a troubled teenager, my parents found that the best way to keep me off the streets during school holidays was to get me onto the local archaeology sites in Milton Keynes. My father was the acting director, so he was able to pull strings. So I ended up on archaeology sites, working with them at the age of 14, 15 with university archaeology students, earning £100 a week, which is a princely sum in those days. And when it was raining, sitting in the site caravan, smoking weed, drinking beer, and listening to dirty university jokes. So I had a great time. But
suddenly,
archaeology,
there is a spike in the interest in archaeology all around the world. Suddenly, applications for archaeology placements have suddenly gone up. You just sold it.
But I did do. I mean, joking aside, I and that was all true. I uncovered Roman villas, or helped to uncover Roman villas, medieval plague villages, all sorts. And I helped excavate the first two cathedrals in Wells that predated the existing cathedral that was started in the 12th century. So they were very old. Fantastic. And there's been a lot of archaeology in Portugal. There's a lot of interesting archaeology in Portugal. So I'm sorry, if the archaeologist wants to look at your plot, then just suck it up and hope that they find something really interesting, so you have a great selling point for your Airbnb or whatever it is you're going to build on there eventually.
Frame those plates and maybe make a feature out of that old oven that they found. I don't disagree that they are useful, but a year, it's the speed, but a year to go over a plot.
This is Portuguese bureaucracy. Come on.
Can you imagine archaeology and Portuguese bureaucracy as a hybrid?
We move here for the relaxed pace of life. Do not begrudge it to the workers.
There you go, he's not helping, is he? It's really annoying, but they can't use machinery in those works. It's always a slow process. And is that what you were doing? You're on your hands and knees with a toothbrush or something, where you're going through these sites?
Toothbrush and pointing trowel. Those are the two main tools.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I thought your parents were going to say there's cider and cigarettes hidden in there somewhere. And then that was enough to get the young Andy to start digging.
There was cider and cigarettes in the side caravan.
Excellent stuff. Right. So what do you make then? I asked Bobby the same question. We have settled down politically, I think, here in Portugal. Doesn't look like there's going to be an election in the new year. A workable peace has been found between the parties. What do you make? What did you make of it? I've not spoken to you since the rise of Chega in the Portuguese Parliament.
Yeah.
What's going on? How have you viewed it, Andy? Last few weeks.
I think I predicted a minority government and a Chega vote for around 17%. So I'll happy to bask in my in what I stated last time. However, this peace, it's too early to decide whether it is a real peace or whether it's likely to get broken. Liberal Initiative have clearly said they're not going to join the government. They will be supportive where they should be, and they realise that they have a number of common goals, but they, in the knowledge that they would not actually lead to the foundation of a majority government, they've decided they can secure their political independence by remaining outside the government. And I think, it all depends. Let's see what happens. I think, this year economically looks to be reasonable, so the government will probably be able to limp on with qualified support most of the time. Yeah. But what happens next year, if there is what is being increasingly predicted as an economic slowdown, will be entirely another matter.
Yeah, very interesting. And I guess key priorities are getting the budget passed, and that prolongs the parliament, doesn't it? And that can be a sticking point and can actually bring a government down, as I understand it. Yeah. And also, one of the first journeys the new prime minister made, I believe, and the old one as well, was to go over to Brussels to get some instruction or counselling or coaching support. I don't know.
They shouldn't be getting instruction from Brussels. They should be giving instruction.
Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? You would hope so. You're sounding like a Brexiteer now. What do you think they were told? And do you keep a close eye on that? I mean, because that to me is quite a key issue. Not so much what Portugal is going to do and its politicians, but what are the EU going to be asking of Portugal in the next 5 years, do you think?
Well, possibly to obey the law where they don't, because there are a number of cases that Portugal has lost in the ECJ.
Yes.
Not least about the taxation of imported second-hand vehicles.
Still hurting for people.
Yeah, but also various other things that they take their time to enforce. Let's see. I mean, it's a two-way street with Brussels, and Portugal has a very good record in terms of its contributions and a reasonable record in terms of its compliance, but not perfect, as I said.
No, maybe that was the first thing on the memo, wasn't it? When the Prime Minister got there, when Luis Montenegro met with Ursula von der Leyen about this car tax thing.
Yes,
and I imagine he kicked it down the street and said, "Well, we're working on it. I'll get back to you. It's my first few days. You're going to have to bear with me on this and see what happens." But do you think Portugal will maintain that place? It seems to me that it's like middle league, isn't it, in terms of EU estimations? It's supposed to Portugal is the poster boy, isn't it, to be whipping the other southern European states that the EU sort of takes a little bit of a dislike to in their behaviour. It's like, why can't you be more like Portugal, Italy, Spain?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the political dynamic and where the majorities lie. So when Europe moves to the right, and Spain, Spain actually is the only remaining left-wing, really ostensibly left-wing government, large left-wing government in Europe. Spain may well be being browbeaten and being asked to be more like Portugal, especially now. Yes. But it all changes with the political dynamic, so let's wait and see.
Let's wait. So more waiting and seeing on that then. And would you agree with me? Some people, understandably, I do understand it, and I question it, and I try and calm it down a little bit, but some people have taken very badly to the rising popularity of Chega. I think we can take some comfort here in Portugal in the political system. It's very different to the US and the UK, I think. And despite the, how it works in social media and how it can be dog whistle, lightning rod, all of these polarizing effects that can come from these sorts of politics and all the name calling, there is a political process in which that will get slowed down and attenuated. So people who are coming, the political refugees from America, needn't get too worried or hysterical about how it's going to be with so-called extreme and far-right sentiments here, because they have to plot a progress through Parliament in which they get dampened down. Would you agree with that analysis, Andy?
Partly.
Go on.
Well, no, I mean, and you're right, and the political system is important. We don't have the Portuguese president certainly isn't as powerful as the US president in relation to the legislature, although he can hold up bills. But I would caution against being too complacent. If you go back to the most recent, the only real time when. No, the second time actually, when a right-wing dictatorship arose out of a parliamentary process, it was Hitler. And Hitler never achieved a parliamentary majority. He was a minority leader, prime minister equivalent. It was only his use of extra parliamentary thuggery and undermining the political structures that led to him coming to power, and that can happen anywhere. But
you need a complicit population, don't you, for that to happen?
Well, you need it. You need either a complicit population or a tired, worn out, fed up with politics population.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And this is why it's really important. And I've said this every time you've asked me, we've discussed this.
Yes.
It's important. If you don't do politics, politics will do you.
Right. And that echoes in my head. And I my take on that is, if we don't discuss these things that are bothering people and take them seriously, that will also contribute to difficult and terrible and potentially dangerous and difficult situations. So I absolutely, and again, I think we can give Portugal some credit on that. Is that the discourse does seem to be there, and people haven't polarized themselves on these issues yet, and I hope they never will. You can go to a bar and you'll have political representation within the social spectrum in the same bar. As I understand it, in the United States, you go to a Democrat bar or a Republican bar. That's when you're in trouble, isn't it? When your life is stigmatized and polarized in that way. And I still think we have a much more of a political discourse, respect, and melting pot in this country, as I understand it.
But that's true. And actually, if you, whatever side of the political spectrum you are, if your intention is to convince other people of the correctness of your position, then you have to talk to those people.
Yes, let's
continue. As a socialist, it's no point me talking to someone, not talking to someone who has concerns about socialism or that's left-wing politics. There's no point me talking to preaching to the choir. I need to preach to those outside the church.
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to take action, don't we, that reflects those ideologies as well. Rui, great to have you here. I always enjoy corresponding with you. And we will keep talking about it when it's appropriate here. Politicians have become irrelevant. Left or right narrative useless. Focus on developments in matters like taxation, debt, both sovereign and private asset price inflation versus wages. I think Rui is looking for a bit more action, more over rhetoric here. But you're shaking your head there, Doc.
Well, those things are important, but there's no mention of infrastructure and services, housing, education, health, those important things which people have to survive. They can't start even considering taxation and debt and asset prices if they can't feed and house and educate their children.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a point being made here, you know, nobody honest likes politics. Politicians have a very bad reputation and some work needs to be done there. I think we need to probably check our own cynicism as much as we're requesting good people come into politics. And if we want them to behave in a way that is for the betterment of society, we might have to treat them a little bit differently as well, mightn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we don't just need them to act in a way that benefits society. We need them to act in a way that defends our human rights and civil liberties, and that's really important.
Yep. Liz F, yes, taken very badly to the Shager rise. And I'm doing my best. I really am to, you know, I'm not an apologist for Shager, but I do think it's very important that we don't have a constantly hysterical response to it. I mean, I understand people's upset and concern, and we need to keep talking about it, and we need to, you know, make it a practical matter of discourse rather than separation and polarization.
One of the worst things, one of the worst sites was that bastard, Ventura, appearing
Easy
at the.
Now, come on, this is what I'm talking about. Right, okay.
Appearing at the far right. Well, you know, yeah, but Carl, I don't expect to be able to convince Ventura. I expect to be able to convince 10% of the 17%. You know, I mean, 10 out of the 17.
You lost him. You lost them though with that expletive. But go on, carry on.
Well, no, because he went there. He went to the far right German conference, and he was effectively pushing far right tropes much more than he did domestically. So, you know, he exposes himself as to who he is when he goes internationally, and you see the people that he associates himself with. It is important to combat them, and I have no intention of talking to Shager or his generals, but those who have been sucked in to his to his campaign on the fringes, they're the people we need to pull back.
And maybe we should stick to safer topics like olive oil in the morning. Okay. Chris is happy to see you here. Doc, a simple doc for you from Chris. Good morning to you, Chris. You've brought him to the yard, as it were. Reduces cholesterol. I don't think you're talking about Shaker there. And healthier, this is olive oil, healthier than the predominant one sold in the supermarkets, even better if you're harvesting your own. As Pete is, he's got a few hundred litres left for sale. Let's get Gumper grease into the supermarkets and give people a nice alternative to that. So thank you for that little bit of political coverage. And let's do so you were talking about gold energy. Let's do your favorite utilities in anticipation of the big webinar tomorrow night at 7:30. Gold, you're happy with gold? I'm hearing Spandau Ballet in my head for some reason.
So we started with gold energy and were then subverted by a clever salesman and signed up with Iberdrola. We then had a massive gas bill, as everyone did last spring. Didn't pay it, got threatened with being cut off. So chain supplier, one of us who was the there were two of us the two of us, Leanna and I. So we played the switching customer and switching supplier game. So we went back to Gold Energy on the gas and are very happy with them. They have a when you ring them up, they have a for English press 9, which is fantastic. Because it's very easy to know that you're going to be able to speak English, unlike some of the suppliers. Their cost is good, and I find their bills quite understandable, actually.
And they're doing both electricity and gas as well as
they do, although we haven't changed our electricity yet, but we will do. We just haven't got around to it. We just changed the gas the day before that Iberdrola are going to cut us off. But
I've never heard of them. Iberdrola. Okay, so they don't come with much of an endorsement from the doc, certainly. And on the matter of internet, mobile phones, you're glad to see Bobby taking Mayo to court. Who do you choose, or is it just least worst, best of a bad bunch?
We started with Vodafone, if only because we were trying to arrange a contract while we were still in the UK before we came, and they were easiest people to get hold of, although they weren't particularly easy, but we got hold of them. That was during lockdown.
Yeah.
We ended up switching to Nosh because they're the first ones offering 5G in Leiria. So as soon as we had the chance, we swapped to Nosh, which they're okay. I think everyone has their issues in terms of speed occasionally, and when the sandstorms, the Sahara dust seemed to have affected the transmission quite a lot.
Seriously?
Well, yeah, certainly around where we were. I mean, maybe it was antennae and I don't know, but it was very noticeable.
You don't want that blowing up your USB port, do you? Definitely
No.
not. Okay, all right. Doc is correct. Just going back briefly to politics then. Doc is correct, but they will put themselves before all those things. I think that's talking about the political psychology and how politicians are motivated until there is a breakdown, collapse in law and order.
Yay! Revolution!
Stop it. Don't encourage him, Roy. From a bit of chaos, something better always arises. Shake it. On a serious note, I've heard that that's what Portuguese people will not tolerate. A very tolerant, calm society. And a red line for this culture is violence. That's when people demand change and demand politicians to act.
Revolution is not equal violence.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm talking. I'm not suggesting that for one moment. And I hope you're right. What I'm saying is that the tolerance that we experience as foreigners coming to Portugal is when it gets to a rising level of insecurity in society, crime. I'm not talking about revolutionary violence. I'm talking about crime. When crime gets to a certain level, that's what Portuguese people won't tolerate and will demand change on that basis.
Yeah.
Having been quite tolerant about other things. Throughout history, says Roy, significant changes always only happen after brief periods of chaos, disorder and lawlessness, unfortunately. When will we ever learn, Doc? Would you agree with that analysis, on a global scale? Is that how political change does come, when things break down?
It does seem to, and either when they break down or when they become too much for a sizable proportion of the population to bear.
Yeah.
But 25th of April was a revolution, absolutely. But of course, it started out as a coup.
Yeah.
So the 25th of April originally was a coup by the Captains Movement, a very laudable coup.
Yeah.
It was the revolution. Actually means obviously a turning of the population, the turning of society from following one direction to another, and that was and the deaths were actually of supporters of the revolution at the hands of the GNR.
Really? My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, a month to go, and we will be celebrating the Carnation Revolution. I've yet to see much excitement about it, but I guess we had to get the election out of the way. Couple more points then on the potpourri of conversation that we've been enjoying this morning. I've heard that one's location has a lot to do with the best sales. Yeah. That's right. It is very important to find out who is the best.
There's a service map available online which will show you who's got the best service. Yes.
And talking of revolutions, have you joined the kitchen revolution that is the air fat fryer? Sorry.
Oh yeah,
air fryer. Are you an air? Have you adopted the air fryer as a methodology?
We do have the air fryer, and it seems to be it's very good. It does everything that we want it to. When our toasts are packed up, we even use it to make toast. But it does chips.
You can do anything in that bad boy. Right,
it does chips, it does pizza, it does everything. Yeah.
But Gandalf, how does it work? What is going on in this? Not microwaves. Isn't it just a small oven, a convection oven? What's the technology?
It is. It's a fan oven. Yeah, it's not a convection oven.
It's just a small standalone fan oven.
Yeah, but a much stronger. There's a much if you've got a ratio between the fan size and the volume of the oven, it's much higher in an air fryer, basically.
There you go. You can ask Doc anything, can't you? It just goes to show. Ask anything about Portugal Wednesday. Ask anything about anything Wednesday when Doc's with us. He's answering questions on every subject this morning, and very, very ably and manfully as well, if I may say so. And I'm going to return, Doc, as we say goodbye.
You can't say manfully. That's sexist.
What would you theyfully then? Do I refer to you as they? You've
personfully.
You've had, oh, that sounds so lame, Doc. But I can't say that anymore either, can I? I'm getting myself in so much trouble here this morning.
Absolutely. That's very disablist of you.
I'm so sorry. Right. Changing the subject really quickly here. This is amazing. As a doctor, you will know this, of course, having studied physiology to a great degree, great level, or literally to a high degree. Look at this. This is a great message, I think, to send people away with this morning, Doc. Technically, we have 3 minutes to live, but every time we breathe, the time restarts. He's out of line, but he's right. Isn't that an amazing thought?
It's true. Yes. Absolutely.
And life is so fragile, isn't it? So let's go out there and be nice to each other, live life fully. Carpe diem, caveat emptor, and auf Wiedersehen.
YOLO. Auf Wiedersehen.
YOLO. Cheers, Doc. Take care. And everybody, thank you. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.
You too. Bye.